It's the middle of a pandemic. Hospitals across the world are stretched thin, having to ration resources. But in Puerto Rico, hospitals are also having to ration electricity. Widespread, constant blackouts are layering disasters, one on top of the other. Overwhelmed, officials are left having to decide whether they should use their backup generators for x-rays or for the emergency room. It's been more than 4 years since Hurricane Maria caused the longest blackout in U.S. history. Soon after the storm, I traveled to the island and saw mangled power lines and U.S. citizens struggling to rebuild their lives in the dark.
This is crazy. This just doesn't feel like the place that I know.
Now, 4 years later, Puerto Ricans still don't have reliable electricity. Some are looking to the future and hoping for change to ride out the next big storm. Blackouts have been a part of life in Puerto Rico for as long as many people here can remember. But this summer, a new private company called Luma came in to run the grid. Continued blackouts, labor issues, and skepticism over the way the company came in led to big protests in Puerto Rico. On social media, some people call the company Hurricane Luma. And multiple mayors are reacting to the blackouts like they would to a natural disaster by declaring a state of emergency.
All right. Well, there's no streetlights here, so... Oh my Lord, what's happening? Scary. I guess I'm going. Okay. Whew. So we are on our way right now to interview the mayor of this little town called Isabela. He had to declare a state of emergency a few months ago because people in his town were facing such terrible power outages for days at a time, and he said the power company wasn't doing anything about it. So we're headed over there right now, and we just got a phone call from his press person telling us that they're out of power. They've been out of power for hours now.
At the mayor's office, we found local government employees sitting in the dark without air conditioning, waiting for the lights to come back on. They told us half the town didn't have power.
There's just people, they're having to use hand fans to stay cool. And it's 90 degrees today. It's 90 degrees.
Next door, workers in the municipal tax office packed up and left work early.
Buenos días.
Buenos días.
¿Cómo estamos aquí, en la oscuridad?
Bienvenido a la zona oscura. Ay, Dios mío, yo te diría, yo vivo en Isabela toda mi vida. Y sí se ha ido la luz en ocasiones, pero lo que está pasando ahora es algo que tú lo notas bien absurdo. Es todos los días, es un sector diferente.
Muchos saludos.
Amén.
Ahí lo tenemos. Este es el alcalde por largo tiempo, mi primo hasta lo último.
Amén.
Isabela's mayor, Ricky Mendez, was elected in November 2020. People here seem to love him. And when they stop to say hi, he asks if their power is also out.
¿Tienes luz? ¿Tienes luz o no tienes luz? Pues yo necesito que le diga a ellos qué problema, cómo te sientes que no hay luz. ¿Tu problema?
No, estoy mal, porque iba a sacar dinero ahí.
Y no se puede. ¿Cierto? ¿Cansado ya?
¿No tienes luz?
¿Tienes luz ahí? ¿Tienes luz? ¿Tienes luz ahí? ¿Tienes luz? No, vamos para allá.
Nadie tiene luz. En junio, tú declaraste un estado de emergencia.
Eso es correcto.
¿Por qué hiciste eso?
Cuando hubo la transición de energía eléctrica a Luma, tuvimos que declarar un estado de emergencia a nuestro pueblo porque no habían brigadas, comunidades más de 5 o 6 días sin luz, sin razón alguna, no había ningún evento atmosférico, no había ninguna situación de clima que produjera, ¿verdad?, esa situación.
Hay gente que han hablado, obviamente pasaron por huracán María, pero hay gente que ahora hablan de huracán Luma. ¿De qué se trata eso?
Bueno, lo que pasa es que al no existir comunicación, al no haber brigadas en la calle, se convierte, ¿verdad?, en una tragedia. No sabemos si nos levantamos y no vamos a tener luz o si te vas a acostar y de momento la luz se va. Esto de verdad que es bien triste decirlo, pero estamos como un país de tercer mundo, ¿verdad?, donde un sistema está frágil, donde tus aspiraciones de planificar desarrollo económico están atadas. Yo no veo a Luma como un ente malo, yo lo que veo es el proceso atropellado en que se ha dado esto.
When Luma was chosen to take over the transmission and distribution of the public power utility system, the deal was supposed to solve a problem. The utility is $9 billion in debt. In fact, the whole island is in debt by more than $70 billion after a decade of economic depression and a series of disasters. Some man-made, others natural. So to claw itself out of this financial hole, Puerto Rico started allowing private companies to take over public functions. That's where Luma came in. Even though Luma took over, Puerto Rico's power outages have continued. We looked at Luma's online tracking system several times a day for the month of September and saw widespread outages throughout the month. On Luma's best day that month, there were still outages reported in at least 51 of the island's 78 municipalities. But there were likely even more than that because almost everyone we spoke with on the island told us the map isn't showing all of the blackouts that are happening. The spotty power has kept Luma's crews busy.
So I was just talking to some of these Luma workers. They came here this morning. They got their assignments, all the different power outages that they're going to go to and address across the island. And many of these guys told me that they worked with PREPA. They were with the company before. They came over here. They say there's a lot of work to be done in order to fix the grid and maintenance that was not being done for years and years. So that's what they're doing now. And we're going to go out with them today and watch them hopefully restore power in people's houses.
According to Luma, there are up to 235 crews like these that are active around the island on any given day. They're responding to outages and working to reverse a decades-long backlog of maintenance needs. And they get to do this work with billions in federal funds that were devoted to repairing the power system after Hurricane Maria. But in Puerto Rico, we heard from a lot of people who don't believe it will be enough to just work on the maintenance backlog. They believe there's a fundamental flaw in the way Puerto Rico's energy system is set up, a flaw that is especially problematic during hurricanes. Professor Agustin Irizarry Rivera is one of those people. He's an electrical engineer and teaches at the University of Puerto Rico. He's also part of a coalition that is advocating for an entirely different power system, one based on distributed solar systems.
Most people want a lot of electricity and they want the power plant located in the moon.
Right.
Okay? So this side of the island,
They don't want it in their backyard. They don't want to see it.
Yeah. So this side of the island, this is the moon. Well, this is a Costa Sur power plant, which is a steam power plant that it can burn both oil and natural gas, methane.
In Puerto Rico, almost 98% of power comes from fossil fuels. Those fuels are imported and burned at plants like this one on the southern coast of the island. Then the power is carried through transmission lines to the places where people live. For the most part, that's the north of the island.
This is a traditional power system where you have the power plant, in this case located in the coast, because that's where we receive the fossil fuel. We don't have any fossil fuel.
Yeah.
Okay? And then it's burned there and it produces electricity, and the electricity then travels through the transmission system to go to the load centers.
Is this a strong system that we see? I mean, is this a resilient system?
Maria proved it isn't. I mean, after Hurricane Maria, the transmission system went out. I mean, about 1 out of every 4 towers fell after Maria. It's not if we are going to get a new Hurricane Maria, it's when it's going to face a new Hurricane Maria.
Hurricane Maria left many Puerto Ricans without power for almost an entire year. That experience led entrepreneurs like Elon Musk and others to take interest in renewable energy on the island. It also led a coalition of people and environmental organizations to call for a total overhaul of Puerto Rico's electric system. Rather than having big power plants connected to people with long transmission lines and having to rely so much on imported fossil fuels, this group wants to see a system where Puerto Ricans get their power from rooftop solar panels. Their proposal is called Queremos Sol, We Want Sun. In Guayama, we saw a small pilot program that is testing this idea. Sonia M. Diaz is one of the first people to receive a solar system on her roof here.
¿Por qué te las pusieron?
Bueno, yo tengo un hermanito que padece de esquizofrenia. Sí, lo cuido. Yo y mi hermana. Cuando se va la luz aquí no hay más nada. Él sufre de calor. Se pone, tú sabes, como histérico.
These are pictures of people in the neighborhood that have gotten solar panels installed in their home. There's 25 different homes that have the solar panels. This is a lower income neighborhood, so it's been a great help for people to, be able to have basic energy for their basic needs.
This is the system that Irisari Rivera and the Queremos Sol coalition believe will lead to more resilience after storms in Puerto Rico. But not only that, he feels it will give them more control over their power on an island with a streak of independence and its own unique culture.
A chinchorro is a joint, a place where you have a beer and something to eat. And we go from one chinchorro to the next, and we call that chinchorreando.
You make it a verb. Puerto Ricans are really, really good at eating and drinking and having a good time. You all see what happened after Hurricane Maria, and you see an opportunity
To change.
To
To
change.
re-electrify our country using our own resources, using new technology. It's a path to democracy. It's a path to energy justice, where everyone has the capability to produce enough energy to survive after a furious hurricane. That did not happen. We lost 5,000 people after Hurricane Maria. That should never happen again. I don't see Luma trying to create a modern power system. I mean, we have talked with Luma representatives. We have had the opportunity to discuss what they present in the Energy Bureau. It's very backward looking. They believe that if they do exactly the same thing that is done in the US, we are going to have this immense leap forward. That's not correct. They want to have perhaps an excellent power system from the 20th century. We want an excellent power system from the 21st century. I think that's the fundamental difference between what Luma vision is and our vision is.
How long are you willing to give this company? I mean, they got this contract. How long are you willing to give this company to see if maybe they do actually improve the grid?
I think Luma will leave if a strong storm hits Puerto Rico. Once they realize that one thing is talking and the other thing is restoring a system that has been battered by a hurricane, they will probably pack their things and leave. That will be...
A lot of people share Irisari Rivera's concern. They're worried Luma might just leave, based on a clause in the contract that allows the company to terminate the deal in a natural disaster lasting a year and a half. And other people in his coalition, as well as consumer watchdogs, are very critical of the way Luma got this lucrative contract. They say the deal lacked transparency, that public stakeholders were left out of the 18-month-long selection process, and that it contained irregularities around the bid evaluation and lobbying by the company. Puerto Rico's Public-Private Partnerships Authority told us that they have a very structured process and followed all of the regulations and procedures of their agency in selecting Luma. Another Maria-strength hurricane will be the test. And it's not a matter of if, but when. Until then, the outages have continued, and so have the protests.